The sun shone down with oppressive force. High above, the orbiting satellites blinked in harmony with the machines below. Tanks, 900 strong, sun-drunk and armor-skinned. They were the pride of the Dominion, and they had never lost ground. They advanced in perfect rhythm, each Helios engine humming with buried fire, their treads crushing centuries of silence beneath shimmering heat. The ground shook softly with their passing, a procession of sovereign thunder. No foot soldiers, no banners. Just the machines in the hum, rising like a low chant, shaking the dust loose from forgotten bones. The scouts had spoken of resistance. A handful of fortified ridges, some trenches gouged into the brittle earth, a few gliders and crude artillery hidden beneath heat-camouflaged canopies. They had dared to meet the engines with iron knives and sand-worn rifles, as if resolve alone could stop a war forged in solar fire. It began with a burst of flame. The forward line of Helios engines opened like a wall of gods, precision targeting burning through ridge and trench alike. Rocks split under heat beams, crude cannons melted in place. The defenders broke within moments. Some ran, some fired wildly. A few stood still and waited for death. The ground was painted in smoke and glass. Nothing held. Nothing slowed the column. For every shot returned by the defenders, 100 answered them. The Helios engines did not falter, did not scatter, did not even notice the resistance had been there. It was not a battle. It was a demonstration. The commander watched it all unfold from the lead cockpit. His face was unreadable beneath the golden mark of his station, but the satisfaction was there in the stillness of his hands. The operation would be over within the day. No loss, no disorder. The memory of the tribe would be erased by dusk. But then the wind changed. It began subtly, a shimmer across the sky, like heat distorting the upper air. Dust lifted straight up and hovered, confused, unmoving. Static crawled down the halls of the tanks, popping like dry leaves crushed underfoot. They looked up. What had seemed like cloud banks were something else entirely. Heavy atmospheric interference gathered in slow-moving masses, darker than storm clouds, pulsing faintly at the edges. Light bent as it passed through them. Colors dulled. The satellites above flickered, recalibrated, then blinked out entirely. A flicker of warning lights rippled across the lead consoles. The solar stream was gone. One by one, the Helios engines began to slow. Their power-hungry hearts, built for unbroken sky, coughed in confusion. Systems dimmed. Cooling vents screamed. Control panels began to blink in erratic rhythms. Then came the rain. Not soft. Not gentle. Chemical-rich and needle-sharp, the downpour came in waves, each sheet of water slamming against the armor plating with a sound like fists on drums. The ionospheric disruption grew stronger. Sparks arced across antennas. Internal networks went blind. Targeting arrays spun uselessly. Tank after tank lost all telemetry. Pilots shouted into comms that no longer worked. Then the ground moved. The brittle crust, dry for decades, broke apart. Water surged into it with violent hunger, swelling and boiling into mud. Engines slipped. Treads spun in place. One machine tipped sideways into a newly born ravine and shattered against the stone wall below. Another tried to reverse and was caught in a current of liquefied earth. It sank slowly, lights fading beneath the surface. And from the hills they returned. The same resistance that had been scattered like leaves now charged with fury. Their weapons had not changed, but the field had. The Helios engines could no longer respond. Their power was gone. Their glory eaten by the sky. Gunfire raked the exposed hatches. Charges were thrown onto hulls now dormant. Some of the machines detonated from within. Others, those with manual overrides, fired blindly into the haze, catching only ghosts in the smoke. The commander saw it happen. He watched the machines die, one after another, as if something holy had turned its face from them. There were no more orders to give. He opened the cockpit hatch and climbed into the chaos, slipping immediately into sludge that sucked at his knees. Thunder cracked across the valley. He stumbled forward, clutching at his useless weapon. The sky flashing red and white and red again, he ran. The resistance surged around the wreckage, unafraid now, shouting in languages the Empire had once outlawed. Their songs rose above the storm. It felt like the earth itself had changed allegiance. The commander crested a ridge and stumbled, catching himself against jagged stone. He turned to see the Helios engines behind him. The proud line of 900, now twisted and burning, their brass bodies broken, their purpose undone. He ran until he could no longer hear the machines. The storm swallowed everything. Rain stabbed into his joints. His armor cracked. One glove tore free as he slipped again and again across the shale. He reached a narrow pass, climbed until his breath caught in his throat, then descended the far side into a low valley streak with black water. He collapsed more than walked, crawling by instinct. And then, light. A dull amber flicker behind a curtain of mist. He staggered toward it, hand outstretched, unsure if it was real. The shape of a dome, patched with metal and hide, slowly emerged from the dark. A single signal lamp pulsed beside his door. Before he could knock, the flap opened. She stood framed in firelight. Her face was calm, eyes unreadable. Rain had soaked her sleeves, but she did not seem to feel the cold. She stepped aside. He entered. Warmth engulfed him. Smoke. Oil, clay, the scent of old stone and older wood. He dropped his gear by the door and fell into a stool near the hearth. She handed him a bowl. He drank. The broth was thick, slightly sour, full of something that burned his throat and calmed his stomach. She poured another, this time clear. He drank again. They sat. Time passed slowly. His breathing eased. The fire crackled low. She moved with quiet precision, laying out tools near her mat, a blade, a spike, a hammer wrapped in cloth. He leaned back, heavy with exhaustion. His gloves lay on the floor. His hands were cracked. He flexed them once and let them fall. She poured one more cup. He accepted it without question. The fire flickered between them. Steam clung to the walls of the dome. His shoulders slumped. He smiled faintly, the lines of battle softening. She stood, circled the fire slowly, quietly. He sighed. His eyes closed. The night thickened and he stirred. Then, a sound. His eyes blinked open. She stood above him and a blade caught the firelight. He saw it come down. Rain still fell in the distance. But here, the sky had cleared. The sun crept over the ridge, pale and indifferent. The woman stood at her doorway. Behind her was silence. And then from far off in the hills, the faint sound of singing. Not triumphant, not mournful, just returned.